but we must look at the bigger picture of bringing peace and stability to the various communities in Nigeria.
Okay, now let me ask you, Collins, is it safe to say that any of these operations are yet to achieve their desired targets?
Well, yes, you can actually state that, because if you look at it, just like the popular saying that the end justifies the means. We've been battling, for instance, perhaps you just talked about Kaduna earlier in the, on the show. What we are still battling with that. You still hear and see reports of attacks and the killing and maimings of people in some part of Kaduna, for instance. So you would ask yourself, has such operation really achieved in that state? It's actually no, because the numbers sometimes increase and also fluctuate. But like I said, it's actually bad and sad that Korea, we just call Nigerians when they are hit by casualties in numbers.
Okay, now let's not forget, I know it's not easy to say Operation Wild Stroke sought to the neutralizing of alleged crime lords, that's Ghana, in Benue State. But is it that the end objective of this operation is just majorly concerned on that?
Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. But again, if you are looking at it, sometimes the criminal elements that usually perpetrate this act don't work in isolation. They have team, they have informants, they have those. Sometimes they even have some bad elements amongst the security agents who also we've seen officers of the Nigerian military, maybe an expelled soldier, a sacked soldier, or even sometimes a former police officer get involved in armed robbery and perhaps kidnapping and what have you. So it's actually culminated into so many things. They work in team. So, but it's not only just getting Ghana, for instance, in about the Operation Wild Stroke. It's about bringing peace and stability to that region. And if you look at it, I think by judging, they've actually done marvelously well, because before now we used to hear about sadly what we are hearing now about Kaduna. We used to hear it about Taraba, but in recent times I think they have been
able to calm down the situation. Exactly. Now, concerning Operation Safe Haven, which covers Bauchi and Kaduna State, how would you rate the operation, the success of the operation, and then giving to the armed attacks on communities, especially in southern Kaduna?
That's why I said earlier that southern Kaduna is just what we must now think out of the box.
Is it one of its kind?
That's what we should be asking ourselves. That why is this actually a peculiar situation? Why has this been lingering for long? The governor has come out several times to give his own perhaps verdict of what is the solution of the crisis, and also sometimes we hear from both parties talking about the warring parties on why this is existing, and also some of our colleagues have gone into the field to carry out some kind of investigative works on what is happening. But we must think out of the contemporary way we've been doing things. We shouldn't just wait for it to happen and maybe go out and issue press release that these are the numbers of casualties. We should now deploy.
What can be done to calm down that southern Kaduna situation?
Like I said, I think we need an independent, perhaps an intelligence expert to go into this, because now if you deploy the army and you deploy the police, it's very natural that when the bandits or perhaps those who are carrying out this dastardly act see somebody on uniform, they don't come out. But when they see that maybe the patrol team has gone, or perhaps a village has been deserted by a security operative, they go out and maybe sometimes carry out whatever attacks they might want to be. Sometimes it's actually perhaps a revenge attack or a counter attack. But if you now deploy, for a suggestion, an intelligence expert who goes down, disguises, it's done. We have special forces.
Are you saying that the Nigerian armed forces don't have these intelligence?
I wouldn't say they don't have, but have we been able to get a result-oriented and perhaps push? So far so good. It's been no, because if we actually truthfully deploy these things, by now we would have come to a time to say these are the causes, and be able to nip it in the bud. But where we just do some kind of paperwork and maybe for public opinion to say yes, they've made a statement, we've gone beyond statement.
Do you think operational cost is one of the problems of the Nigerian armed forces?
Well, there's no gainsaying, and there's no need of emphasizing the fact that you can't actually completely keep funding security agents and apparatus from the government coffers. It's way too big for government to handle. If you look at other clients now, if you get to hear the trillions of dollars, for instance, in the US, they spend on security forces, it's actually beyond Nigerian government, because in this country, Remember, we are now feeling this other side of COVID-19 that has ravaged us this year. If you look at the inflation report that was released by the NBS recently, we have perhaps if not 13 or so, if I'm correct with my numbers, that's already a huge economic negative for Nigeria, and where we have a lean resources, and sometimes very badly we have mismanagement of these very lean resources. There is no way you will be able to commit all your resources into funding security. We must begin to think out of the way, perhaps doing a kind of public-private partnership for funding our security, because you can't overfund the security agency.
What do you think is the major challenge of the Nigerian armed forces in fighting some of these menace in regards to their operational sector?
Well, yes, I know they will definitely tell you many a times that they are not lacking funding. But I want to believe that they still need more funding and funding and funding, because it is with funding you can get the sophisticated equipment from other parts of the of the other world. This is from funding you can actually bring in experts, or also do an exchange program for our own personnel to go into special training and special, because remember that this country has a peculiar topographic grounding and geographical perhaps diagram and drawings. So you must also take that when handling it in a peculiar way. You don't say perhaps a country that is a Sahara desert that is plain. You want to go and do the same thing they are doing in Nigeria, you will definitely fail, because going to my own village alone, there is a forest you cannot comb in the next 6 months.
Okay, now, as a security journalist, in terms is there any time soon that can be placed in scaling down some of these operations? As some people have observed, rightly or wrongly, that the military is too stretched, like stretched too thin.
That's why I mentioned earlier that they might come out to say, look, they are not overfunded. Do we have the adequate personnel? But again, we must be truthful to ourselves. Where you see a military person, and sometimes even a civilian, or perhaps a retired perhaps military personnel with several officers following him, guiding him, and we know we lack the personnel number on the field, we should do away with that kind of mentality. We should deploy those who we should deploy. I'm not saying they shouldn't be guided, because it is within their mandate, but not when we have very serious situations like this. Are you saying the other Nigerians are commoners? No, they are not.
Okay, now moving forward in terms of logistic deployment through the military, though the military should be used, they should be used to this by now. You know, it doesn't really get easy with them. That's actually true. But what would you think, or what do you think could be done in terms of logistic challenges across all of these operations?
We must, like I said,
we've actually seen videos of some of their soldiers complain about these things.
Yes, and we've also seen videos of perhaps area bombardments and what have you. But again, there are some forests, like I said, there are some region or perhaps some location in this country that you can't actually just go in and say you want to go and comb. You must put everything in place because of the situation there.
How tough is the situation that the Nigerian armed forces cannot handle?
Now, I will tell you, there are some forests in this country that you can only see from the outside. And maybe deep inside the forest, you have a very big gully, or even a valley, or a river per se, that whoever gets there lost. Again, you need funding. You need funding. If you want to place a timeline into these operations, it is only when we get that adequate funding. And I must tell you, it can't come from the government alone, except we want to keep deceiving ourselves. It can't come from the government alone, because now we are in the age of technology across the globe, and I'm very sure when you saw the raiding of Osama bin Laden, for instance, now by the U.S. Special Forces, it was a kind of perhaps what the Oval Office was seeing from the office, and they also sent some kind of perhaps robots and what have you that you can't even see in the atmosphere to go and do that kind of survey. So now, how would you do, or perhaps get that kind of equipment if you don't have adequate funding, if you don't have the money to get it? And also, how would you be able to deploy it if you don't have the personnel to actually handle these things? Should we keep just bringing the foreigners to come and perhaps engage our army, when we know that sometimes we know these things might even be some kind of perhaps external forces also penetrating and also taking advantage of the unity and the diversity of our culture?
Are you saying that the Nigerian government is not able to fund in terms of this high technology to the Nigerian armed
Dakore,
forces?
we shouldn't deceive ourselves. We shouldn't deceive ourselves, because now we were hearing of the recession report. Why? This is a country that perhaps, kudos to this administration a bit. They've talked about diversification, and now we're beginning to see some kind of result-oriented push in terms of agriculture. Though I still have my own personal reservations about that. But we've solely, over the years, be dependency on one source of revenue, what? Oil in the Niger Delta. And again, so recently we want to go and start perhaps getting oil from the other parts of the country. Is oil the only thing? Is crude oil the only thing we have in this country?
Away from that, Collins, the issue of political interference in some of these operations having a source of concern in some quarters. What is your thought on this?
The problem is an average Nigerian, especially the elite, many a times are not truthful.
Okay, before you go forward, let's draw our example from one of the northern states governor who feels, or who thinks rather, who puts out words to the public and says the Nigerian Armed Forces is not capable.
Well, I won't agree with that governor to completely say they are not capable. But like I said, they need to be given that adequate assistance.
He says they are poorly coordinated.
No. When you say poorly coordinated, I think give kudos to the leadership. They are trying their best. There might be so many factors, underlying factors, that maybe they can't actually come out to tell the public because it's actually a dicey security situation. But the fact is, they need more assistance. Assistance cannot be overemphasized for the Nigerian military and other security apparatus we have in this country.
A very strong mediation strategy. Most conflicts that hitherto will have escalated, we had to mediate between herders and farmers to douse tension and to settle the challenges or the crisis amicably. We usually hold stakeholders meeting, and to a large extent, we've recorded some good level of peace. We have adopted, like I said, robust and strategic postures. And on most of our highways, they are quite safer. For instance, the Sanga Akwanga Road, we've deployed at places that were hitherto flashpoints and, kidnappers then. Commuters travel even up to late in the night without any security challenge. We've recovered arms and ammunition. We've arrested and neutralized some notorious armed robbers and kidnappers. We've also recovered large quantities of illicit drugs in conjunction with the NDLE. And I can say that our joint operational area is quite safe, relatively safe, and we've also been able to add the Nigerian Immigration Service to the operation. We didn't have them before. So sometime last month in June, the CDS approved, and we got some personnel from the Nigerian Immigration Service, and that will go a long way in handling issues pertaining to foreigners and aliens, which we didn't have. And we deal with some of them sometimes in the course of our operations.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. And that is how we come to the end of the show. And we've actually spoken to Collins Ajibola, a security journalist. Now you can always engage with us online. Our website, www.publicintelwithdakore.org, has more security stories. You can send us an email using publicintelwithdakore@gmail.com. Connect and interact with us on all social media platforms. On Instagram and Facebook, it is at Public Intel with Dakore, and on Twitter, it is PI with Dakore. Over in YouTube, we have Public Intel space with Dakore. Now remember to be patriotic with passion for your country. Be vigilant in your environment and report threatening activities to security operatives. Advise people around you to be good citizens of our dear country. Thank you for being part of today's show. I am Dakore Ekedu. See you next week.